Welcome to Movie Date with Jess and Kait. I'm Jess.
I'm Kate.
We are a couple who loves movies and loves each other. So we're going to be going on little dates, watching movies, and recapping them for you guys. And today, I guess we both kind of picked this movie, or just the threat of spoilers picked this movie.
Yeah,
We're doing The Substance, which I think came out this week or last week. It's
yeah.
from 2024, obviously.
This week as of recording and whenever this comes
Yes,
out, it'll be,
yes.
out.
But it stars Debbie Moore, Margaret Qualley?
Should we look this up?
No.
Hold on.
Dennis Quaid, and the director is Coralie Fargi,
Yeah,
who also did the movie Revenge. Did
yeah.
you see that?
Yeah,
It
we
was like
watched
a
it here.
Mad Max-esque, like
You watched it, right?
I think I stopped because it's about like it's
It's
like
like
a
a rape
sexual assault to
revenge.
begin with, and I was
Yeah,
like having a hard time just watching that. So
yeah.
you may have watched it without me. Do you remember liking it?
Yeah, yeah, it's cool. And it ends really in a big bloody battle in this house and
Oh,
everything.
cool.
Well, spoilers. I mean, geez.
Oh, yeah.
But whatever. I mean, the trailer's like that. I think you can construe that from the trailer.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we should say then, I guess, for the substance, if you are like us and don't want spoilers, don't watch this video. Go watch it, and then you can come back and listen to us talk about it.
Yeah.
Or if you're someone who needs to hear all about a movie before you see it, then you're in the perfect place. Any thoughts on this? Is like a satirical body horror. So, what are your thoughts on body horror before we get started?
Um, I mean, I like it. I like it as an extreme to make people pay attention to whatever it is. There's like, a lot of the stuff that body horror addresses requires a level of extreme, and it's not necessarily about like the nuance of a thing. It's like sometimes stuff has to be said in a very eye-catching, crazy way, disturbing
Yeah.
way.
I do think
Yeah.
having light touches in it helps. Like sometimes it's just so serious. Like half of Cronenberg stuff I really love, and then the other half I'm like, this is just like
Yeah.
it's just all of the body horror, and it's so unsettling to be with, which I'm sure has its own point, but
Right.
yeah.
I guess, yeah, I guess using it in a way that is effective is, that's really a question of like what your taste is.
Yeah.
It also makes me think of like Gwar, the band Gwar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, what movie are they in?
I mean, there's a
They're
documentary about
in
them recently.
Empire
They are
Records.
in Empire Records. Yeah, they
That's
show
how
up
I
in the
know
dream.
Guar.
I feel
Yeah.
like we've referenced Empire Records before. That's funny. Yeah, it's they have like crazy shows where like the first few rows are like the splash zone of a blood pit kind of a
Yeah.
thing. It's like, you know, um
Yeah, blood gushing, I don't mind. That I love. Adam's
yeah,
Family, Kill
yeah,
Bill, the end of the last Suspiria that came
yeah.
out. It's more of like the very like close, like needles going
Yeah.
into or extra limbs places.
I think that's the thing in like the beginning of most of these movies is like the very first touches of breaking reality and seeing like I thought of this movie made me think of Society right away.
Yeah.
And um and also like we just did Reanimator, it made me think of that a lot. Where in Reanimator we were like,
Even with
oh,
the goo.
especially with the glowing green goo. I mean, I
Yeah.
think it's like, it feels like a wearing a reference kind of like on their sleeve kind of a
Yeah,
thing.
I think this movie had a couple of that. The
Yeah.
like shining carpet as well.
Which I think it still did effective, I think it took those references and made it its own thing.
Well, while we're talking about it, let's
Hey,
just
let's
get
just
into
talk
it.
about that movie.
All right. So first we open on some very noisy people that were at the movie theater. So just a little reminder, chit chat during the trailers, have your funny jokes. Don't talk during the movie.
It's like an AMC plague, I swear to God.
Yeah.
Every time we go to an AMC, there's like somebody's just
Luckily,
being
a
loud.
brave soul braver than us told them to be quiet.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, well, you got to it first. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah.
In 40 more minutes, I would have asked an usher to tell them to be quiet.
I thought that was like, these teenagers are not going to
I'm a
help me.
coward. Yeah.
Okay, so once they were silenced, we open on a raw egg on the ground, and it's just a regular old
Or
raw
like
egg.
on like a surface.
Yeah,
On a surface. Like a white surface.
it's injected with this like green goo serum, and it starts to
Some
like
kind of
shake
substance,
and some kind of
if you
substance.
will.
Why didn't I just say that? It shivers. And then the yolk of it kind of like starfish style, like morphs into
Yeah, it's like
two
a
different
cell
ones.
replicating, but you
Exactly.
see the whole it's like the egg instead of like a yeah.
That's such a better way to describe it. Thank you.
It's
Um,
okay.
then we cut to a star is being created on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So you
Mhm.
see like the outline of a star, the letters are going in. I actually thought that was just cool in and of
You
itself.
gotta see it.
It's getting filled in. We see it's Elizabeth Sparkle, which
Mhm.
is such a funny name for
It's a
this.
great '80s star name, I think, you know.
Everything about the movie is kind of like on the nose, but in a really intentional, fun way.
Yeah,
And the characters are very like over the top, but I think intentionally so.
yeah.
Um, At first, people are stopping by the star, taking lots of pictures of it. Then, as time goes on, the star gets a little dirtier, some cracks. People, at one point, like somebody throws a hamburger onto it or
Yeah,
it
that's
drops. Then they pick it up and eat it.
they don't eat it, they just pick it up and walk away with it, but even that, I was like, people who drop shit on the Hollywood Boulevard do not pick it up.
Yeah, and we know because our dog eats it.
Yeah. Our dog Poppy comes along,
Do you know how many
smells the
chicken
burger.
wings are scattered across this city
Yeah,
for dogs to eat?
Poppy does.
Um, at one point, there's even like snow over it. I was like, okay,
Yeah, the
we're really
snow
breaking reality if this is Los
yeah,
Angeles.
it's been the nuclear winter has happened and, yeah,
So
anyway.
it was a really fun way to see like time going by. We didn't
Yeah,
have like kind of a corny-ish montage of like seeing
I
her
thought it was
throughout.
really
It was just a
cool.
fun new way to see. We get it.
We get it.
There's so many things in the movie too where it's like you get it. Just move on.
It doesn't treat the audience like idiots, I don't think. It
I
just
think
really
so.
lets you in on it and is like, let's just have fun with this premise. And this especially is like, okay, you know this person.
And sorry, one last preface I realized I
Yeah.
didn't give. I did not take notes during the movie. I'm not a monster.
Maniac.
So this is from my memory with a little bit of help from Wikipedia. I remembered more than I thought, but obviously maybe there's some things that I'm either going to forget or slightly out of order, but we have the overall gist.
Yeah.
So then we have Elizabeth Sparkle on set, and she's doing like a workout video, like a very Jane Fonda type.
Yeah.
It has like an 80s aesthetic. The background even kind of looks like that.
It's just a little dated, yeah, and the women, the, like, aerobics people in the background are, like, supposed to be, like, of Demi's character's age
Yeah.
and everything, so it's, yeah, it's, like, for women of a certain age kind of a thing.
And I'm sure we'll say this a million times, but I loved her in it.
She fucking rocked. I thought she was so
It
good.
was so cool. Just that I just thought that she was
I
incredible.
thought she was so cool for saying yes to the role, and then
I don't want
for
to be it to become a thing of like it's so brave, but it was more just like she is
it's not
someone who
even
clearly over her career her looks have mattered,
yeah,
the way people perceive her matter. Like you could very much see this is her as an actress
yeah.
and probably how she's feeling. And then as we get into it, the things that this character goes through and transforms into,
And I think she conveys a lot in the parts that don't have a ton of dialogue. Like, I think she
yeah,
does so much with it because she probably has similar
it made me want to
experiences.
rewatch Ghost. She's so fucking cute in that. Her and
Yeah.
Patrick Swayze
I
and
mean, they're
Whoopi,
incredible. They're incredible.
we must. Okay,
You've never seen some Saint Elmo's Fire,
I haven't.
which the other co-star, her mom is in that.
That's right. Margaret Qualley
Her mom is
is Andy
Andy
McDowell,
McDowell. Yeah.
and her husband, I just learned from Wikipedia, is Jack Antonoff, who I know is
The directors and writers. Is
no, it's her. It's Margaret's husband.
Oh, oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm all discombobulated.
Okay. This is all important to know. So she gets done her set, and you see like the camera looking at her, the lights, like kind of like the her body is up for like display for
Yeah,
all to see, and that's what she's selling, and that's what she's there for. Is kind of how I took it. Like every time we saw
yeah.
like the camera lens.
It's under a microscope. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
She walks down this what we alluded to, this like very shining-esque, like orange walls, and the carpet has the pattern of the carpet in the hotel in The Shining, the overlook.
Oh, yeah?
You didn't think so?
I thought it was like a '70s dated, sort of looking hallway, I guess I is what to me, it was more of like a time. It was like a studio hallway that, and it also has all her posters on either side or whatever.
Yeah, giant
But
posters of her over the
yeah,
years.
I guess
That's
it
the
could be
vibe I got.
that it was sort of overlooking.
Someone wishes her a happy birthday.
Everybody wishes her
So,
happy, like,
oh,
walking down the hallway, it's
okay, multiple someones.
yeah, and she's, like, clearly, like, not she's,
I'm
like,
assuming
saying
it's like
thank
her
you.
50th.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
the character's supposed to be, like, 50.
Thank you, but also, yeah, like I don't even really want to have a birthday. I
Addressing
don't
her
want to acknowledge
age.
that I'm getting
Yeah,
older.
yeah,
She goes to the bathroom and they have these, if you've ever been to the Alamo Draft House, like the doors that go just from the ceiling to the floor, there's
yeah.
no like you can see underneath.
Well, the
Um,
women's room is out of order, so she goes over to the men's room real quick because
yes.
there's, like, the hallway is empty, and she's like, "Okay, I'll just sneak in here real quick, use the bathroom."
She goes in there. Well, that's how she also goes undetected, why I
Yeah,
bring up the doors.
yes.
And then in busts a really incredible performance by Dennis Quaid Harvey. Obviously, this name can't be a coincidence. He's absolutely disgusting. He has like gaudy jackets on the
Yeah.
entire time, like either
His bits
snakeskin.
are really funny, like, the costume people in this movie really.
He is like hamming it up, but it's in a way that is so appropriate for the film.
Also, the shot was so good how
It's like
it's
his face is
yeah,
smushed
he walks
against
up
the
to the
camera. It's like
urinal.
this close.
And he's, like, barking into our faces, and it was really I was
You
like,
can
"What
see
a
every
shot."
pore, which they'll do that with Demi Moore's character too, like be very close and you see her pores and wrinkles,
Yeah,
which again, I'm sure is very intentional. And he's on the phone basically talking about this woman, we can kind of assume who it is, that she needs to go. She's too old. We need someone younger, hotter. I don't care that she's an Academy Award winning actress.
yeah,
What was that in King Kong in the 30s? And he's just laughing at his
yeah,
own
yeah.
joke, disgusting. Leaves and then she comes out. She obviously heard the whole thing,
Yeah.
which I also bring up the Alamo Draft House because you can't hear when
No,
those doors are shut. There's
yeah.
times when I'm scared because I don't know if you've left.
"Oh,
I know. You don't get a little
get me
scared
out of
like
here."
it's too quiet in there. I don't like it.
I don't mind it. I like the privacy.
We're really disagreeing on a lot today. I'm sorry
The
everyone
Alamo Drafthouse
has to see
bathrooms.
this. Okay, we cut to a lunch with Harvey. Again, we're really close up and he's just going to town on some
Some shrimps.
very juicy,
Head on
head on, crunchy. You see it in his mouth. You see his
shrimps.
yellow teeth.
Yeah. He's
Um,
dipping it in, like, a white sauce, he's dipping it in, like, a mayonnaise, like
which actually I would. You wouldn't?
sure, yeah, I mean, I guess I would, I probably wouldn't eat it like that,
Like
but
salad. But being a big disgusting pig,
yeah.
food all over, and
The men are, like, talking in the background, a waitress, like, leans over and her panties are showing.
oh, that's right. He's
Like,
like,
oh,
yeah, I
like,
like that.
there's it's a really funny shot.
And he is essentially telling her what we've kind of already learned in the bathroom, like, thanks for all your service, but we're letting you go.
In a more slightly more tactful way, I mean, whatever, and then he, like, sort of is saying, like, "But, at 50," and then he kinda trails off, and Elizabeth is like, "At 50 what?"
Yeah.
And kind of, like, pushes him on it, and he kind of frees it, like
Ignores her and goes, hey, over
well,
there.
yeah, I mean, he, like, thinks about to say, but he doesn't know how to finish the sentence in a truthful way to her face, and then he does see yeah, he sees,
Because
like,
he's
another
clearly that age too. He's not going to say, I'm also retiring because I'm 50 and can no
yeah,
longer do
yeah.
my job.
Yeah. And yeah, he goes over to another old man and says, "You're a genius. The ratings are so high, you're a genius." And then
Yeah.
the two geniuses walk away and Elizabeth has to sit there feeling like
You gotta
fucking
love
trash.
it.
Yeah.
Driving home, she's in her car and she sees a billboard of her face that's being taken down, and her face is like being kind of ripped off of that. And she's
Mhm.
like so distracted by that that, of course, she goes through an intersection and bam, a car hits her. And it's so, seeing it in the theater, there were so many like loud moments that
Yeah.
like hurt like physically to like hear as
Yeah.
well as see. And it's
The
just
car
bam,
accident
bam,
was
bam,
really
bam.
that was a really scary car accident.
It was,
In movies, I feel like sometimes they're scary and so, I mean, they're
or
always
it's a little
kind
like
yeah.
maybe one, but it just
It
kept
kept
going.
going and kept flipping and I was like, this one's pretty
Well, to the
visceral
point
and scary.
where then when they were at the hospital and she goes to the hospital after this, And the doctor's like, there's not a scratch on you.
Mhm.
I was like, is she unbreakable? Like, we just saw her fucking get
And
smashed.
that's the safety a luxury car affords you.
I
When you
guess
get in a car.
so. If there was ever a commercial,
Yeah.
whatever that car was,
I
that's the
know.
one you got to
I'm
get.
gonna need a Mercedes.
It was nonstop
Yeah.
assault. And then he's like, well, didn't
You're free to
even
go.
no scratch on you.
But that's also what to, like, highlight the fact that she's, like, fucked up, like, she has had, like, a near-death experience and
She's
is,
like kind
like,
of huddled
crouched over and
on her
starts to
birthday that she didn't
cry.
want to have, fired from her job, near death experience. She's pretty low right now.
Yeah, they're making her feel her age.
Yeah. So the older doctor's like, "You're good to go." Oh, and my wife loves
My wife
you.
loves you.
Yeah.
And then she just starts crying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, because it's like not me, a man. I find you appeal to me in no way. You're
Not
an older
anymore.
woman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't love your
You're
wife.
invisible to me.
Yeah. Uh, it's the older doctor and then a young assistant. So the older doctor leaves, and then the young assistant who has like piercing blue eyes, perfect
Good
skin, just
casting.
a gorgeous little
Gorgeous
thing,
guy.
just a gorgeous guy. Um, is like, oh, one moment, and she's like, oh, I thought I could leave, and then he's like, I just have to check
One
one
more
more
test.
thing,
Yeah.
and the back of her like gown is open, and he touches her spine, and he's
Yeah.
like, ah, perfect, and she's like, what the fuck?
Yeah, he does, like, the, stethoscope on her and, like, listens for a minute and is like, "Yeah, you're a perfect candidate."
Yeah.
And she's like, "Candidate, for what?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, you're good to go. Okay, bye." And
And you notice on his hand, there's like a
a birthmark.
large purple birthmark.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you see him slip something into her
I
coat.
don't know if you see him slip it. You see his hand for a second, but then as soon as she walks out,
Yeah, she in this gorgeous yellow coat.
I thought
She walks out of there in her like yellow coat with the robe.
the trench coat, yeah.
Yeah, wasn't that cute?
It was cute. Why was it making me think of Carmen Sandiego or something? Who's wearing a big yellow trench coat that I can't think of right now?
Um, Curious George's dad. He
He's wearing a hat.
has a big yellow hat.
He's
That should be your boyfriend.
and a cunty yellow trench coat.
Wait, no, Carmen Sandiego has a red
A
trench
red
coat.
trench coat.
The man with the big yellow hat has a big yellow hat.
Am I
No one in cinematic history has worn a yellow coat before. So this
Dick Tracy.
Dick Tracy did. Okay, besides him. Um wow, you threw me off. Okay,
Sorry.
no. So she's walking in her gorgeous yellow coat,
Yeah.
Dick Tracy style.
Yeah.
And feels in her pockets, notice that there's a hard drive that says the substance drink, name of the movie.
Mhm.
And then a little note card that just says, it changed my life with a phone number.
The phone number on the back of the
Yeah.
USB.
She's confused by this. Before she even has time to figure out what that's about, a guy comes up to her who's just a very like starstruck, sweet, jolly guy who knows her back from high school.
Yeah.
And he says, wow, you're still as beautiful as ever.
Yeah, you're
And
still the
he
most
means it
beautiful
sincerely,
girl
I
in the
think.
world or something like
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
yeah.
But he means it sincerely. He's like
Yeah.
very excited to see her. He's like, if there's any way we
It's your
could
classmate
hang
from 10th
out.
grade, yeah.
Yeah. She clearly does not recognize this person at all.
Or she does after a second, I think. She's like
Yeah.
but, she's distracted and also it's been a long time and she's the famous person in this scenario, so I'm sure she feels like I don't know. I bet famous people get people coming up to them acting, like, really familiar all the time,
Oh yeah.
so it must be, like, weird or whatever.
Yeah,
Oh.
I have no idea.
Yeah.
He's like, "Can I take you out?" And she's like a little hesitant about it. And then, it's just like, "Give me your business card. You never know. I'm busy, but who knows what'll come up."
Yeah.
I didn't understand why this was lingered on, but he writes it down and then it drops into the mud.
Yeah.
It's tests. He must have been at the doctor too, because he's like, "Oh, don't notice my high cholesterol on
Yeah,
there," which I
yeah.
thought was a really cute moment. Maybe it's just, yeah, that he's a little bumbling like dude.
He's bumbling. I guess it's, like, becomes dirty. It becomes something that maybe she would disregard at first or something. Like, it's not super appealing to her to call him, and
Yeah.
I
She
think
does
that's,
keep
like,
it
a
though.
visual way to show it maybe.
It goes in her purse. Who knows if we'll ever see or hear from this man again.
I certainly if my phone number fell into the mud, I would rewrite it on another piece of paper and give you that.
All right, well, he needs those papers. It does have his medical information on it. He went there for something.
You're right. Yeah, we don't have cell phones.
The other half had his soch. He's not ready to go that far with her. She goes home to like this open, big condo overlooking Los Angeles, like up in the hills. It's like slightly outdated, like an 80s, like it has like a pinkish carpet. And on one wall, she has a gigantic, like larger than life size
Yeah.
picture of her in like her workout gear.
It's very too like I kept thinking like of the picture of Dorian Gray, the Oscar Wilde book or whatever. Is that Oscar Wilde?
I don't know. Right. Well, Kate looks that up. She plugs in the drive into the TV, which my mom couldn't do. So
So she's already doing pretty good.
she's not that old.
She also has all of her like she's got like awards and things, you know.
Oh
She's
yeah,
doing
you see like her awards from the past. You see this like snow globe
picture of Dorian
where
Gray by
she's
Oscar Wilde.
oh, there you go.
Yeah.
See, smart pants. Look at you. A snow globe with like her inside of it and like this gold glitter comes down. But she puts in the disc or the Jesus disc, I'm old, puts in the drive into her TV and a video pops up explaining the substance. And it's all like very
Explaining it vaguely.
simple and vague. And
Yeah.
that's kind of how the whole thing with the substance is always treated. It doesn't
Yeah.
go into a huge amount of details. If I were to watch it, I'd be like, I have no idea what that was telling me on, but these people seem to instinctively know exactly what to do with it, which
Yeah.
I didn't mind again.
I mean, it's a pill. It's a thing, you know, it's like fucking it's like Ozempic and plastic surgery all like into one DNA changing
Well, there are
thing.
kind of steps to it. So they
Yeah.
basically say if you want to be perfect and beautiful, you know, the more beautiful, more
A
perfect, more
version of
younger
yourself.
version of yourself, you have to follow these steps.
Yeah.
There's
Well,
the
they don't even give that until she gets the box.
oh, they do say though, like you will be separate, but you are one.
Yeah.
And then also that like, yeah, you must remember that you are one is like a big thing that they keep and that you'll switch bodies. Like it's 7 days with one, 7 days with the other, and
Yeah.
there is no exception. And they make a big deal about saying that. That like if you can't
Yeah.
not do the 7 and 7. So she throws it into the trash. She's like, I don't even know what
Some
this
weird
is.
ad or
A
something.
weird like shot where it's like from the
I like
perspective
the
of
shot
inside the trash can. I like
inside
it
the
too.
trash, like because you see it, you literally see the title of the movie then down on the bottom of this like trash shot, and then she throws it out, and then you see it later when she fishes it out
Yeah.
after a little while.
But she's like at home, just lonely. She's looking at her award. She's realizing like she's not the person that she was. And then that is when she dives back in, grabs it, calls the number. She's like quickly told an address. She's like repeating it, trying to write it down
What
on
does
her
convince her?
hand.
Now I can't even think.
I think it was just seeing her awards, unless there is,
Does
this
she
could
throw
be,
her globe at this point?
oh, she might throw her globe at her face, like hitting the eye of her
Hitting
giant
the eye.
picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, that's a good memory. We together we'll figure out what happens in this movie. She quickly, oh yeah, tells the address, writes it down on her hand. They hang up. She's like, did I even get this right? I don't know. It's the next day. She gets
Oh, because
some,
she was drunk.
yeah, she's
She
also,
goes down to a hotel.
oh,
Her
that's
back is
right.
out. Her back's looking good. She's looking like muscular or whatever. But she's like, I think it's also in a very harsh light. And she looks over and she sees two younger people flirting with each other. And she's like ordering another martini and drinking it. And then it cuts to her puking in her apartment. And then when she gets up, she fishes it out. And then at some point in along the way, she throws her snow globe, hits the eyeball of her portrait of Dorian Gray picture, or, picture of Dorian Gray, and then she fishes it out, writes it down drunkenly, wakes up the next morning.
Well, that's when then she gets the mail. So in the
She gets the mail. Her
newspaper,
cleaning lady was busy
I thought that too.
this year. That's a bit busy. I would be like,
Especially once we get to her bathroom, her all white, literally the ceiling is tiled.
you see the next day, or I guess within the next like few days at least. Her cleaning lady's in the background cleaning up all this shit, cleaning up a broken snow globe goo with glitter
Glitter.
off of a white rug.
And you never see that glitter again in the movie. So this lady
did the thing. And they fixed well, they cleaned it off the picture at least. I
Yeah.
think the broken glass is still there for a little
Yeah,
bit.
just the eyeball mark.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
We're
So
caught.
as she's doing that, she's reading the newspaper, she sees in the newspaper an ad for her replacement.
The next Elizabeth Sparkle, it literally says, which this was another part in the movie where it's like time period doesn't matter either. There's like, because there's no real ads in newspapers like that anymore that then people it would be
Somebody
like
reading a
online
newspaper
or
was honestly felt antiquated to me.
yeah.
But I guess,
But the movie doesn't care about it. It's just like this is
she
how
gets the
we
mail. I guess that's how she gets it. Maybe that's
yeah.
antiquated, so it fits for the character who
Yeah.
feels like
Or some
she's
things just felt like that's the way that they do it. We're just trying to get to the fun stuff. She sees that ad. Then underneath that, there's like a black envelope with the symbol of the substance. It's
yeah.
kind of like two D's next to each other. Oh, I guess that's like two things bringing one.
Yeah, I assume it's like the yolk in the beginning. Well,
Yeah.
and also the video shows like some kind of like Play-Doh that they pull apart and like make a more
that's
perfect
right.
version.
And then smash them
And then
together.
they're like, you have one. So
And it has a card inside that says 503. So, and she looks at her hand. It's
like a
like a
key
little
card.
worn off, but it's still on her address. So she
Mhm.
has this key card. She has the address. She heads on down to this like kind
To
of
our neighborhood.
to our. I was gonna say sketchier part of town.
Yeah,
So
she
our
it's just like
neighborhood.
going down like Beverly Hill Street, and then she's going down like a street with like sirens in the background, and I was like, oh, I feel like I could fall asleep. It's like you're like your white noise. I was like,
It's more like factory
yeah,
than
it's more
our place.
industrial.
Spray painted over like a little kind of almost alleyway metal door is the address that she's looking for.
Yeah.
She puts her key card on like what looks like a little
Great
fob.
location scouting of
Oh
that.
yeah, yeah.
I was like, that's really cool looking.
Well, what I really loved about this was she put it on like what should have opened up the door. The door only opens up like less than halfway.
Yeah.
So she has to like crouch down
Crawl
in
on
order
her,
to get inside.
yeah.
Then once she's
It's like
inside,
the lengths that she'll go. She's,
yeah.
like, still considering this even though it's the shadiest thing you've ever seen, and
I was thinking that like once I saw it, I was like, no, I'd be
at
out.
what
I'm
point you would
clearly
be
gonna
out.
get in there and be murdered.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would be out almost instantly. I don't have a huge like I
drive.
don't mind getting older. I've told you this many times because I've always been quite old.
The example you give, if you don't mind me sharing, is when you were in high school being cast in plays, they wouldn't cast you as do you care if I
No, yeah.
They wouldn't cast you as an ingenue part, they would cast you as like
I was told I was born to play Virginia Woolf, who's like a crazy 50-year-old woman who's like
who would
husband
say that
hates
to a
her.
teenager.
And I was like, great. Well, what should I do with the next 40 years of my life while I'm waiting to do that? I've
You're
always
just
had back pain. I've always been cranky. I'm always a homebody. I have like a beauty from the past I don't long for. I look pretty much the same.
yeah.
Things are fine.
I would say that with this movie, it certainly does focus on to call it vanity, I think is like dismissive. I think it is like about your looks and
because
about
people are genuinely treating her differently
Yeah.
because she's older, which is we'll see later in the film too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's purely vanity.
I think it's for me what was resonating with me the most was the health thing because it's like, well, yeah, my younger self, I did feel stronger. My knees didn't make noise and my fucking I didn't have like autoimmune disorders and shit like that. So it's like, well, yeah, I would like, that was the part I was like, she made me cry in this
I
movie.
can tell you're getting like a little teared up
Because
right
no,
now.
well, I don't want to be like,
No.
but I think that was the interesting part for me. It was like, oh, if you could just be healthy.
I totally understand why you would feel
You know what it made me think of too? In How To with John Wilson, there's that episode where he goes to the Avatar fans.
Okay, now you're talking.
Now I'm talking your language. So they were talking about the appeal of Avatar, and I thought Avatar was fine. I saw it once. I didn't really think about it too much. But it kind of made me think about the appeal of it as somebody who has a physical disability or something that
Or
like
just doesn't feel good in themselves.
doesn't feel good in your body, or it's just something that impedes your mobility.
And a fantasy of being in another body.
Yeah.
That episode made me fall in love with the Avatar series. I know it has a ton of things wrong with it, and I agree with every point that anyone's ever made of what's wrong with it. But I am just so charmed by people who love it.
Yeah.
And I'm with
And
them.
you're one of
And now I'm one of them.
them.
Okay, so another sidetrack.
Yeah.
She walks down this sketchy hallway after she's like tucked in and gone
Mhm.
under that door. The hallway was scary.
There's like
This
a
was the part
poster
where I was
for
like, "Oh
bugs.
God,
There's like a poster with a cockroach on
get
it.
your bugs." Oh wait, you mean a bug is on it, or it's for
No, no,
bugs?
it's like an exterminator
Oh
thing.
yeah,
It's
well,
like, you know.
at the end of the hall is this very sterile, just like white, almost like Severance type room. Like
Yeah.
it's just such a
Stark
contrast.
contrast, yeah.
And there's lockers. There's like one for a 207, and then there's one for a 503. She puts her little key on there. It opens up. There's like an Amazon package inside.
Mhm.
She knows to bring it home. I would have just opened it right then, but she goes home with it, opens it up, sees that there's the injection, the initial injection that you take. There's a switch, which is like kind of tubes that go between both of the people, and the blood goes through one to the other. There's food supply for both for 7 days, so it just kind of looks like one long plastic Ziploc bag, but then perforate it with like 7 days worth of just kind of like creamy milk.
Yeah, like nutrient goo that would sustain you for 7 days if you were in a fucking coma, basically.
And then most importantly,
But it
there's
doesn't explain
this.
any of this. I liked how sparse it was.
It was so if I was given this, it would be like IKEA furniture.
It's
And doing it all
very
by myself?
it's very like the packaging. I thought that the marketing and packaging of this thing was really cool.
Well, because it was very like the black and white, definitely a font just from like Microsoft, but it was all like very simple and just
It was
like
like
right
impact,
there. Yeah.
bold, whatever.
Oh, but most importantly, that comes in the kit is this stabilizing serum. And it kind of has like 7 vials with a needle, and then you're like able to pull.
Well, you don't
We'll
even know
get
yet.
to it. You don't know
You're
yet.
looking at all this. I'm looking at it like I would be calling
Oh,
the
yeah.
phone number being like, "You guys really gotta
On
talk to
hold
me."
for an hour.
On hold for an hour and a
Like
half.
8 was when we were going to the movie.
For my
So she's in
insurance.
the bathroom, she's kinda checking herself out. There's, like, even some shower scenes where we see, like, her entire body, but it doesn't feel it's all, like, makes sense within this world because so much of it
Yeah.
is about her changing body. So many butt shots in this movie,
Lots of butts. I think too, it's
and
just
she looks
she
incredible.
looks
Obviously,
great.
she's not seeing this in herself, but
She
she couldn't
touches,
look
like,
better.
little parts where she's, like you can tell that the character is, like,
Is not
dissatisfied.
20. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um So she decides to inject herself. Nothing happened. She's like, "Pff,
It's like the ini
injecting yourself with something that you don't know what's in it either." That kind of made all of it being sparse scarier too.
Oh, of
Like
course.
literally just a needle that you found in a locker downtown from a guy at your doctor's office who
I
was
guess a
acting
lot of people
weird.
do that.
I mean, and just put it in you and you have no idea what's in it. That is scary.
I mean, for me, I was like, "This is heroin." This is to me I mean, like, the visual of it is
Yeah.
very much like that. You don't know what's in it, you know, that like
Um,
but it will make you feel better. That's
yeah.
all people need to know about shit sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
getting
I know, well,
emotional. That's okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, of
yeah.
course. Aw.
I'm sorry.
No, you don't need to be sorry. It's okay. Do you wanna keep going? You want a break?
No, no, we can keep going, hold on.
Okay. That's exactly what I wrote. Then, so the
Yeah,
serum works.
yeah.
And so many, I think it's at least 3 or 4 times in this movie, somebody just falls
Onto
hard
their
on a
face.
not concrete, tile
Ti
bathroom floor. So scary.
Tooth, so close.
Then she's just on the ground where a close up of her eyeball, where then one eyeball, much like the yolk from before, becomes two.
Yeah,
Then the new one rolls in the back of her head.
yeah.
She's like
You
not
s
screaming, but just like jerking around. You're seeing, yeah, like
Yeah.
movement in like her underneath her skin. We go to her spine. The spine breaks in two, and like vaginal, like when a baby's coming
It's a
out, you
birth.
can see the skin, like back of like something coming out of her.
Yeah.
Of course, it's a beautiful
It's a
woman.
beautiful hottie.
The beautiful woman goes and checks herself out in the mirror, and she's liking what she's seeing.
Yeah.
She's probably like 20 years old. She loves her breasts. We get the butt, lots of her butt and her thighs and her boobs.
Yeah. Thigh gap was such a big thing when I was in, like, high school. I feel like people as a little kid, I remember being
The
like,
chub rub,
"Thigh gap is important to have,"
no,
you know?
I was so far from it that it just meant my thighs have rubbed so much that it's like leather. Like I don't even get chub rub anymore. It's
Hey, people got that's a Patreon
like
detail.
I'll be lucky to have
Yeah.
the leathery thighs that I have.
Strong.
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 She looks down and we see Elizabeth.
They
Elizabeth.
are not like that too, by the way, but
Oh, thank
shut
you.
it up.
She's almost. It almost looks like she's dead, but she's not. The blood starts coming out of the beautiful
The
young woman's
new
nose. The
yeah,
new
the new
ones,
one.
yeah. I don't know how to refer to her because kind of naming her is a thing, so I don't want to say
Yeah.
her name till it's time. But blood's
She
coming out and she's like kind of like,
feeling
yeah,
woozy.
almost like when there's too much earwax in my ears, like she can't like quite
Dizzy.
hear what's going on. She's a little dizzy.
Yeah. But she's a 20-year-old perfect woman, so she doesn't have
So
your
she just kind of intuitively knows to get the stabilizing serum. That's the one with like the 7 different little vials in it. Grabs just one of the vials, puts it in.
well, no, so it comes with, like, the 7. She fills it up, pops off the top one,
I thought there was only
and
one in
then she
there.
takes it in its own little noisy cricket, and then she puts
There you go.
the one tube in that, and then she just puts it right into she puts
Yeah,
it right
she
into her leg.
pulls like this kind of like just clear-ish, slightly cloudy
Yeah.
liquid out of Elizabeth and then puts it into herself. And this is to kind of stabilize her. So she has some of Elizabeth's essence in her to like keep her going.
Yeah.
And only she needs to do that. Elizabeth doesn't do that to her, I think, when she's alive, does she?
No, I think the whole thing is that it's, like,
The
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 idea
original.
of
You are the
having this
Matrix, is what they call
you are the
her.
matrix, yeah, so she's, like, this, like, DNA source or whatever,
Yes.
and I think
And
that it's
that's
also to
adding to
in
her
order to be like,
beauty.
you are drawing from this woman, like the original person or
Taking
whatever.
a bit of her beauty and, like, putting
It's
it into
taking your,
her.
like, essence and
Yeah.
fucking, it's very, like, vampiric or some shit.
Once she has that in her, then she sees clearer, she's fine. Elizabeth still has this giant gash in her back, so there's, like, thread,
Yeah, it comes with thread and a needle for you
and
to
just the director has you every single one just hook it into the skin, into the other, tie it up, and we see her go up, like, the
the whole
entire
thing.
spine like that, so that was, like, a very body horror-y. If you don't like needles, you would not like this moment. You could
You would
see
not like this movie.
you would not okay, yeah, not just this moment, this whole movie.
Yeah. This is one of the most needly
Pleasures that
movies that I've
it
seen.
made me think of in Suspiria. I don't know if we'll end up doing this, so it might be a spoiler, but there's one of the most grotesque, horrible scenes I've seen is
The
the dancing one where then there are piss all over hooks.
yeah.
I'll save it for when we do that one because I'm
Save
sure
the
we
piss and
will.
hooks for later.
That movie.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Um, where was I?
So she's
Okay, so he
sewing her up.
sews her up.
Yeah.
Then she goes and she kind of like hits the town. She goes out for the audition. And there's 2 auditioners. There's like a girl in there before her. We don't even see this
Well,
other
she's
woman's
walking in at
face.
first and she walks by a window and she sees the like exercise outfit.
Mhm.
This like one cheek out sort of like aerobic
Oh,
outfit.
that's right. That's right.
And
She has
it's like
shopping for.
shiny and pink and she puts that on. Or she buys. It's implied that she buys it. It like cuts away from that.
Yeah. Uh, I don't know how she has cash or a credit card.
She has all of Elizabeth's shit. That She's got Elizabeth's coat.
I didn't know how she got the money.
She got a
Okay.
big credit card and she goes like that.
Okay, you're right.
She's like a hot girl walking around Beverly. I'm sure, they probably walk in with their mom's credit card all day and night.
All right. Well, she gets this outfit. Then
Somehow.
she goes to the audition. There's another girl in there already. She's only shown from like the bottom down. Her face doesn't even matter. And in the distance, far off, are 2 guys just kind of like watching her do this audition. And she's finishing up. They tell her how great she does. She leaves, and they're like, "Oh, she was good. Like, too bad for that face,
Too bad
that
her tits aren't in
nose."
the middle of her face instead of her nose or whatever.
Exactly.
And it's 2 really good schlubs, I guess. I mean,
You remember that because you say it to me all the time.
it's good casting. Shut up. It's good casting of the guys in this movie. Like I thought all the casting was dynamite. I thought everybody was so like
Yeah.
Just really well
That's
suited.
satirical, so they're like,
They're
heightened
average looking guys who
versions.
are saying extreme things that I'm sure fucking people say
Oh, absolutely.
when
Yeah. They're
they're
not out of the realm of reality, but
no.
just that we're hitting every single man at, like we're seeing them at every moment of them
It's just the
doing that.
cliffs notes of what dudes
Yeah.
can be like.
Then she comes in next. Obviously, she's beautiful, gorgeous. She doesn't even really have to do much.
They
I think all
immediately
they,
sit up.
yeah,
They like sit up and they're like,
they're just like, "What's your name?"
everything's in the right place on you, or
Yeah.
some shit like that.
And then, "What's your name?" And just real close on her lips, it's like, "Sue." And then from that, there's just like 50 cameras, "Sue, Sue."
Yeah, with the
And
lips.
she's now in Harvey's office,
Yeah.
Dennis Quaid. And he's looking at it. He loves it. He wants to make her a star. She's on the show. She's like, "That's great, except for I can only work every other week because my mom is
Very
like
sick.
really sick and I have to take care of her every other week."
Yeah. And
And this
Harvey
was
looked
so
pissed. He
funny.
like gets up and goes over to the seat
It's
next to
like
her, gets
right in
really
her
close to her face.
face.
He's like, listen to me. I want you. And no matter what little, we'll work around your dog, your brother, your whatever. Like he's like
"You're
gonna
a kind person. People will love
yeah,
that."
yeah.
And he's
Beautiful with a kind heart. People are gonna love that. He's like blowing smoke
but
out of
he's
his
so like
little
aggressive
tips.
and angry about
Close
it.
up
It
on
was
his mouth
very
too.
funny.
Close up. I feel like he had like they did makeup to make his lips look chapped, and he's fucking blowing like
Oh yeah, and his teeth
fluffing smoke.
even yellower.
I think this is also a Harvey Weinstein specific too. I mean, not like obviously like there's probably tons of like lists like creepy
Yeah, we don't mean to exclude all you
producers.
creeps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all you other creeps are represented. But I think like the Weinsteins did smoke a lot.
Yeah.
I think they were like big time like just chugging cigarettes.
We see Sue is filming her workout.
Love cigarettes, miss them every
It's
day.
almost like a music video. She's just like twerking, so many shots of her butt, of her body. She's
The
not even describing workout instructions. It's literally just a dance
Well,
video.
she at first we see her doing the practice with the new younger aerobics
Oh
people,
yeah.
and everything's going great. Like she's practicing great, and they shoot the first one in like this white, pristine set
Just
with
kind of like white soundstage. It looks much more modern than
much more modern.
Elizabeth's for
Yeah,
sure. We
yeah,
switch back. We see Elizabeth isn't really doing much with her time at all. She just stays at home watching TV. She goes back to work and Harvey doesn't even really let her in the building. She's going to like pick up her stuff. He like rushes down the long hallway, has her
yeah.
box of shit ready to
All of her
go.
pictures are off the wall already.
Yeah, just like get out of here. Oh, we have a little gift for you. It's in like a Christmas package.
Yeah,
Clearly it's not Christmas
regifted.
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
regift it. It was like a book my wife loved or
something for
whatever.
you to keep yourself busy or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love my wife, and then he puts it in the box and, like, struts off. Just to the physicality of that guy is really funny.
Yeah, he was so funny. Sue comes back. Then we're kind of like switching back and forth between the two. When Sue comes back, she sees that Elizabeth has like left the TV on. She's watching QVC. She has like her butt mark in the chair.
Yeah.
She's essentially like, "What the fuck?" Like you're not doing anything with your time.
Yeah. I think it's like, I've definitely had, you have days where you sit around and do nothing, and then you wake up the next day and you're like, "Wow, I really wasted this whole day."
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing of, like, they still seem like the same person a little bit to me,
Yeah.
but just how you can be judgmental of yourself and, like, seeing yourself being like, "Wow, I ate that. I fucking didn't do
Yeah.
this. I sat around and did, wasted
One's going
time."
off and being successful while the other one's kind of like wallow like it's only maybe making her situation worse. She's like
Yeah.
lonely, she's by herself.
But also
She's
seeing that, you could have days that are off and you are like, "Oh shit, I had to fucking really get my shit together." You see it later and you're like, or just, also that's like you could take it too far and be judgmental and beat yourself up over something that's like, "Oh, it's just not that big of a deal."
yeah.
Yeah.
Aww. So Sue goes around the apartment, kind of knocking on the wall, looking for something hollow,
Yeah.
finds it in the bathroom, and then just starts busting down the bathroom wall. And we're assuming it's to make some kind of like room. Like she's trying to
Yeah.
find a place where there could be a little hideaway area.
Yeah, she's almost in this big, like, semicircular loft, so it's, like,
Yeah, the
connects her
hallway.
bed
Yeah.
the space between her bedroom and her bathroom, which, that's valuable space anyway, you should open that
There
up.
should have been something there
Yeah,
anyway.
yeah, but she's a great carpenter, she, like, makes herself a perfect door
I mean,
that,
this
like,
is
consists
another
of.
part. Yeah, from like the tile, there's just like a hinged door now in the bathroom.
Yeah,
But while
yeah.
she's constructing, a neighbor from across the way bangs on the door, thinking Elizabeth's there, and is so angry, like, Elizabeth, I'm trying to sleep. What
Lady!
are you doing over
Yeah.
there? Door opens up, he sees Sue, and he's instantly
He's
kind,
like, blah, 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 blah."
understanding. Yeah, oh,
Yeah.
if you need any help, I could come over. I've got a big hammer.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So again,
Really
like it's
silly.
not just in Elizabeth's mind. She could have been doing the exact same activity.
Yeah. She's treated
And
really differently,
yeah.
yes.
She finishes that room, beautiful. She could have a construction job if she wanted, and she keeps Elizabeth in
That's her
there.
true calling, really. It
And
should be acting.
yeah, and I think the point of that is because she wants to then like have people over and not like
Yeah, she wants to hide
see this body, yeah,
this body, yeah.
and hide it.
It's
Just
becoming more of a it's like before where it's in the very center of the bathroom. She literally there's a shot where she's like it's following her walking, but you only see like it's like a whatever the shot is called, like a fucking two shot or some shit where it's like from her like chest up. But
mhm.
you see her take a step over the body.
Yeah,
This like body's very present in her house and she wants to get it out of sight, out of mind,
yeah.
you know.
So she
Also, it's
goes.
so funny throughout the movie that both women keep the body naked on the floor, no blanket. I guess she does like fold up a towel under her head at one point.
Yeah,
But I was like, it's funny that they're so like how they treat herself. I guess she's treating herself pretty badly
yeah,
at all. But that part of it made me like was like, oh, that's interesting too.
yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Sue, yeah, goes out with some friends. She's like in the back of a convertible. She ends up bringing a guy home, and she's in this like leather
Like a cat suit
Catwoman suit.
with like thigh high boots.
Yeah, yeah. She's brings the guy back to the couch. They're like making out. He's like grabbing her butt. We see as she's like out partying, doing whatever she wants, that Elizabeth's food bag is getting littler and littler. And she even checks on her and see that she doesn't have
She's like, "I'm gonna be
lunch.
out late, don't wait up," kind of
Don't
like a
eat
mom.
too
Don't
fast.
eat too
Yeah,
fast, yeah.
yeah. Um, but of course, like as they're making out on the couch, there's like a big shot of her butt. The guy's like grabbing it.
Yeah,
She has a little blood come down. She knows that she needs to go get a little bit more of the stabilizing serum if she's going to like finish off the night with this guy.
yeah.
So she goes in, and instead of switching, which she's supposed to do right now, 7 days, no exception, she decides just to take a little bit more stabilizing serum just to get her through this night, and then she'll switch off in the morning.
Mhm.
Of course, then when Elizabeth wakes up, she notices that her one finger is now almost like a witch's finger, like it's gray and
It's just
wrinkly.
very
The
aged.
nail is like, yeah, but
Brittle.
yeah, an extreme version of
Yeah, yeah,
aging.
yeah.
Um,
And it's, like, hard to bend.
yeah.
Yeah.
She sees a new billboard has also been constructed literally right outside of her
There's no
house.
way outside of that luxury apartment they're building a billboard. That was,
Or
like
just building, there was no billboard there before. It was just a totally clean
if
view of
if the
LA.
penthouse's view was obstructed like that, you
I
would be getting
know.
called.
That whole condo association,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the
The
HOA
HOA's
would
calling.
never allow it.
No, no. But it was fun as a visual for the
It's a
movie.
billboard of Sue, like a lot, very like a American Apparel,
Yeah.
like 2010s, like just splayed, kind of lounging across it with the Pump It Up name.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, she also sees the number like on a post-it on the wall with the guy like, "Hey, I left my bike. I'll come pick it up later," and his helmet's
His
there.
helmet's
So
there,
she's
yeah.
piecing together like she's gotten on the show, she's hooking up with people. She calls the substance to essentially be
Oh, it's also like the place is trashed, like there was like a kid
like a
had a
party,
party
yeah.
there.
She calls the substance to kind of tell on Sue, and the substance is essentially like, she's not she, she's you. And if you want it to work, then you both have to like respect each other.
Respect like the balance that you're both
Yeah,
you.
respect. And that's pretty much it. And then the neighbor comes knocking on the door. He's like, "Whoa, I saw your exercise video." And he like
Yeah,
is trying
through the
to,
peephole, a
yeah.
conversation through the peephole.
Elizabeth,
So scary to have
oh
too.
yeah, because he was even like Elizabeth's like looking with her
He's like,
eye
I
and
know you're back there. I know like
I can
that he
see
can
your
see you.
little eye. So yeah, so he like goes off. She has to go pick up more substance because like which this part kind of drove me nuts that she has to go there to pick it up each time, that they can't deliver it. But I guess maybe they don't want it getting lost in the
I assume it's
mail
very expensive.
or
It's an Amazon locker.
it's an Amazon
You don't
locker.
want to just leave that
I
somewhere.
just think if I'm getting it delivered that regularly, I would want it delivered to the house. It would be a pain to go.
I mean, you're already paying a premium, I would assume.
But she heads down there. She stops in a cafe. She picks it up, then she stops in
Well,
a
she hears something
oh, that's right.
when
She
she's
hears
in
like
the
a
room.
weird noise in the locker, like "Ah," or just
She thinks
something kind
like
of
a
creepy.
voice or something, and she's like, oh, she rushes out. She doesn't know if she's being followed or something. She's never seen anybody in this place before. She goes into the very first cafe,
Orders a mocha.
sits down. I liked that she like sat and then was so uncomfortable she like had to move again
Yeah,
to
yeah. I
another
like that
table, and then
too.
the waitress takes her order. Yeah,
And it's
she
a
gets a
very
mocha.
like dinery, mom
It's
pa type place, not
yeah,
very
yeah,
fancy at all.
yeah.
Across from her is an old man who kind of engages in conversation with her. And then we see he has a giant purple birthmark on the same hand that the young doctor did.
He's that
So
guy.
this is the old version of him. And
Hmm.
he's asking her about her. He was like, sorry to scare
Yeah, he's like
you.
it feels longer and longer, or something like that. Where he's like the time feels like it's
Doesn't it
longer.
feel lonelier and
Feels
lonelier each
lonelier.
time? It
Yeah,
feels like you're not worth, like, what is this life worth? Like, that one's so great and having so much fun, and this one's doing nothing. Doesn't it get like harder?
yeah.
And she like runs
She's like,
out.
no, it's
She's
fine.
totally freaked out. On the way home, she runs into the biker guy who had sex with Sue the night before,
Yeah, he
and
came to
he's a
pick up his
total
bike.
jerk to her,
Yeah.
but
He's
it's
like,
like the
"Get the
same
fuck out of the
person.
way,
Yeah,
move!"
I really liked that.
Yeah, I
Like
just
seeing
love
how
it.
all the guys
Yeah.
she's home, she looks around the house and she finds the number of the high school guy and calls up and schedules a date with him. And then this part made me so sad.
Yeah,
She
this
gets
part
ready
was
for the
really
date.
sad.
She's got this gorgeous red, like low cut dress. She doesn't want to show off her finger
So
that,
she wears the
so
gloves.
she has these like opera length gloves, which look incredible. She's like putting makeup on, but then taking it off. She's like unsure of herself, like what's too much, what's, like,
Well, she's ready to go,
yeah.
and you see the time, and she's got plenty of time.
Yeah, they're gonna meet at like 8
They're
or
gonna
9.
meet up, and then she's looks down at the sleeping body of Sue, and she looks back at herself, and she's like, you can see that she starts to feel ridiculous,
Yeah.
or she starts to feel less attractive, and she's like,
So she
I'm
goes back and
done
takes
too
some
much.
off, goes to the door again,
Well, at
sees the
first she puts more
billboard.
on.
Oh, that's right,
She
that's
puts
right.
even more on, and she's like, and then she's just feeling worse and worse, and time is passing, and we know, it's like I already knew. I'm like, she's not going to
Yeah.
that.
It was just so
It
sad.
was
There's
really
times,
sad.
yeah, I mean, that I felt very relatable of like trying
Yeah,
to get ready and you're like, I'm trying to look nice, but am I overdressed? Do I look like a clown or goofy?
right.
Or do
I look silly.
I'm
Yeah.
trying too hard? Or then, yeah, you
Or
get
like this isn't me.
changed, or
Like
I
this
don't,
whole thing of like Sue being able to put on a fucking cat suit and thigh high boots and then bringing home some hot dude or whatever.
yeah,
And then she can't even go out to talk to this guy who she already knows and who already really likes her and is like shocked that she even called him.
yeah.
And she feels like I'm not hot enough to even go out and do that.
Oh, and then so her final thing, she goes back to the bathroom. It was like red on the lips, and she just rubs it all over her
Oh,
face
that
and
was gross.
rubs her
She's
face
like
so
rubbing her
hard. Her
face.
face is all red. Her hair is like a mess. She goes in her bed and she just sits and sad as like
Yeah.
her text messages beep beep
And the
beep
text
from
messages are
him.
nice too. I like that it was like,
It was
hey,
like I
I know you're an actress. You like to make an entrance. Smiley face.
yeah,
It's like, are you okay? And then that was I was like, God, this just, but
yeah.
you
This
knew it
is
wasn't
someone
in the
who would care
cards.
about you, and you could go out and just like have a fun time. And
Yeah.
Sue comes back. She's filming one of the workout videos. At one point she bends over. Oh, she wakes up and sees like there's food all over. Then
Yeah.
she goes to like
Yeah, she's like looking around like, what? Control yourself.
yeah, control yourself. She's
Yeah.
like disgusted by what she's
Or I don't
saying.
know if that she says that yet, but there's like
Well,
there's an air of like, this is fucked up. This is like too much. Like,
yeah, you
you're a
didn't go out
slob.
on the date. You just sat at home and ate.
Yeah.
There was like chicken and this and that. So she goes.
Judging yourself. Judging yourself.
She goes to work. She's doing her dance. She bends over, and then from her butt comes this like
It's like a
lump.
lump
Yeah,
for a second.
and she can feel it. Gets up, touches there, and is like, "Oh, I gotta stop." The whole crew's kind of confused why she wants to do that, but they take a little break.
Then
Then
they're like, yeah, the booth is telling us that something unusual popped up on the whatever on the monitor. Let's pull it up on the monitor. And they pull it up on this big ass monitor. There's like 50 crew people. All of the backup dancers are like
just a close up of
watching
her
her
ass
ass.
gyrating
I was like, this is
nonstop,
really funny.
waiting for it, and she's
She
anxious
knows
that
what it's
they're
gonna
gonna
be.
see this like
She's like, where's my dressing gown? And in the dressing room. They go get it. Like just
yeah.
like freaking out.
She runs to the dressing room,
Yeah.
checks her body, can feel that there's still a little something lumpy in her butt, pushes is like up over her hip
Yeah. You know what made me think of?
into her tummy.
When you lose the string in your sweatshirt, I was like, she's pulling that through.
It's exactly like that.
She's
Yes.
like pulling it through her skin, up, 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 up to her belly button, reaches in through her belly button and pulls out a chicken wing.
Yeah.
But then she kind of wakes up. They're having like these hallucinatory dreams when they're switching.
Yeah.
So I think, I think that was part of it.
So she wakes up from that dream, but then goes to work
Yeah.
and no one's there.
Yeah.
It seems like the
she's
show has
freaking
been
out.
canceled. And some guy's like, Harvey wants to see you right now. She goes to the office. He loves her.
Yeah.
And the ratings are better than ever. Forget the show. You're going to be the New Year's Eve spokes girl or whatever.
You're gonna be like on the night show instead of this dumbass. It's like a day show.
Yeah, yeah.
And the ratings are so good that we're gonna put you on this like prime time spot or whatever.
Of this thing that just seems like so silly. It's like you'll be the New Year's girl. It's like, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Like
just that it'll be viewed by a ton of people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The prep's going to be longer, so she knows that she's going to have to stay up longer than a week. So we get a little bit of a montage of her keep pulling serum out of Elizabeth, the stabilizing
for
serum.
a little longer.
So instead of that week, then she's like, oh, I've got a Vogue cover thing. I've got an interview here, and days go by. So then when Elizabeth now finally does wake up, she is like
her whole leg basically is older.
Her leg is older, and then like
and
half
part
of her face and all of her hair is gray. She's
it's like starting
out.
to like frizz and gray. Yeah.
She calls the substance again, and they're like, well, if you're really that unhappy, we can terminate it. And she's kind of like, what does that entail? Will I get to be me again?
Will I go back to before?
She would stay exactly as she is right now. So there's no going back for her. And just that version, the young, beautiful, successful, having a great time version will just go away.
This is like, let's make a deal.
And so
they got, what's his name on the other side?
Howie?
No, not Howie. Let's Make a Deal. The host of Let's Make a Deal.
It's Howie Mandel.
No, not Let's Make a Deal then. No.
Oh, that's Deal or No Deal.
Yeah.
Wayne Brady.
Wayne Brady's on the other side of the
just like Wayne Brady. And then he does like a parody song about it.
Yeah.
It's really good. And he's underrated.
Yeah.
But she says no to Wayne Brady. And so she opens up the present from Harvey, and it's a cookbook in French. She ends up having this like wild night where she's
I love how first they showed the like recipes and they look disgusting. Like
she says that they're kind of disgusting.
Well, the pictures that they show, I think, are like joke pictures. It's like
they're those
really
very
exaggerated.
70s, like it. Yeah, the lighting is off, so everything kind of looks like a little gray.
It's like
flat.
wet meat.
Yeah,
yeah.
But she decides to frantically cook all of those meals, and you just see her in the kitchen at the same time she's watching the TV, and there's a talk show with
interview
Stu.
with Stu, yeah.
And she's going on like just being so cute and innocent, and everything's really pissing Elizabeth off that she's saying.
I thought she was so good in this
part. Oh yeah, she's like mimicking her. And, yeah. Then Sue, it comes up that she took over Elizabeth's job, and what does she think about her? And of course she's like kind of slightly shading and talking
she's
shit.
diminishing
like, oh, I
her.
never watched it. My mom did.
Yeah.
So I guess it was around.
Yeah. You could say I grew up with her and like
Yeah.
she's saying things. She's like, the town I grew up in was so small. It was this little town. You couldn't even call it a town. It was more like a farm. And I used to put on these things for my family. And it's like, and Elizabeth is like, these are my memories. And basically, she's like, you never did that. Like, you wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me. Like that
Yeah.
kind of shit. Where it's like, also that made me think of too, like, kind of like these like in the context of like pop culture there's like certain like trailblazing women who do stuff that
Yeah.
kind of open doors for people to come along later.
And they
Yeah.
don't get their flowers.
No. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
kind because they're like, how did you get started? And it's like, it just kind of happened.
Yeah.
Honestly, it did. She went to one audition, got it, and then became huge.
Yeah, I guess the trick is being super hyper hot.
So Elizabeth has food all over, and then she wants to cover up the billboard, so she splatters food onto the
She throws an
mirror
egg.
or onto the window.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
she puts up the
And puts
newspaper.
newspapers up all along it. So when Sue wakes up the next day, she sees the house
That's when she
it's
says
like a
control yourself.
control yourself.
You got a good job.
It is like a serial killer was there. The
Yeah.
whole windows now you can't see
Looks
the
like a
skyline of
yeah.
LA. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she's like, obviously that's it. She's not coming back up. She goes in and pulls as much serum as she can out of Elizabeth, has them like in little
Out of this
jars.
same like increasingly nasty looking wound that she's been pulling
Oh
from.
yeah. So it's
Yeah.
almost like a like is
It's
that
like
where
a
you get an
sore
epidural? Like when you're pregnant or like if you have like a
in your
spinal tap,
back.
it would be like
It's
right
like
at
in
the
your low
base.
back. Yeah.
Yeah. And you see the needle like going in each time. Again, yeah, we're probably not getting too much of the body horror stuff, but it's very graphic of like each time. And
Mhm.
she at first is a little squeamish, but the more she does it, by
Yeah,
the
then
end, she's
she's
like
jamming
jabbing
it.
it into her like her body means nothing.
Yeah.
Pus is all over this wound.
Yeah.
She's like pulling out the liquid from Elizabeth. Then we cut to 3 months later. On the billboard, it says New Year's tomorrow, 9 p.m., which is very funny. Which means they put it up like that
That day.
day. Yeah.
We got a
Her
rush billboard job.
boyfriend is there. They're both looking at it. It's like very romantic. He's like a very buff, handsome man.
Yeah. He's like
Um,
vaguely European.
she realizes that she's out of stabilizer though. She has like a moment where she's not feeling that great.
Yeah.
She calls
Well, she goes, she feels bad and she's like, I gotta get more juice. She goes over to Elizabeth and tries to pull it out, but it looks like a
it's like
used up,
brown.
like, it looks like, yeah, it looks like when you're like using like a vape pen or something. It's
Ew.
like nasty. It's like brown and and burnt.
Exactly it. Yeah, burnt. It's not that like
Or like
kind of
not a
cloudy,
vape
just
pen,
water.
like a fucking dab. Those
You know
dabs.
exactly what you're
You know
saying.
what I
All of it's
mean?
disgusting, and I know
Yeah.
exactly what you're
It's like
saying.
dirty bong water in
So
there.
she calls the substance. She's like, there's no more left. You have to like help me. This is an emergency. And they're basically like, the only way to get more of that is to switch. You clearly haven't been switching, switch, and then because the
It triggers this
body,
mechanism to produce more of the fucking juice
yeah, if
that you need.
Elizabeth isn't moving around, she's not going to create that serum, whatever that you need to
Substance.
inject into yourself substance because she's not living. So you're not pulling life from her.
Oh, yeah.
So she's like, well, then we got to switch. She has the switch happen. Elizabeth wakes up. Now it's been 3 months. So she is just like
Bald, but basically like
bald with little
wisps of hair.
wisps of hair, a hunchback. Her entire body is just like wrinkly.
Her bones are
She's got
visible
bumps
and
all over her knees. She
yeah.
can like barely move.
She's like very old.
But more than that, it's like a
Yeah.
monstrous,
It's like an
witchy
exaggerated
monster. Yeah.
version.
The boyfriend wakes up hearing kind of like her screaming
Yeah, the
and like
crashing of stuff.
he goes to the bathroom knocking on the door. We get like a shot of Elizabeth's old butt, a shot of his like young
His
hairy
young
good
hairy
butt.
butt.
Yeah, him just trying to get in there.
Yeah.
Um
I did like that they added that shot of his butt
oh,
too.
I loved, yeah.
Yeah.
It was so cute. Does she end up she just tells him to F
She
off and
says
he doesn't
she
even
says
speak to
go
her.
away. He looks down on the ground and sees on the carpet some blood and he's like, "Oh, you're not feeling good because you have your period," basically. Or he says like it's your lady times or some shit like that.
That's right.
And then she's like, "Get the fuck out of here." And then he gets some of his shit and leaves.
Yeah. So Elizabeth calls the substance. she wants to terminate this whole thing. She doesn't even
I get that.
care if she's stuck like this. She's directed to go pick up the thing from her Amazon locker, her
Mhm.
substance locker. So she gets herself like in a disguise,
Yeah, she's just, like, bundled up and covers, as much as she possibly can.
goes down there, picks it up, brings it back, has Sue like on the ground in her living room. Oh, in that time, the big picture of her, like Sue had put it away,
Yeah.
obviously, because she didn't want people coming over to see it. She like drags it back out. She wants it there. So it's there, and Sue is on the ground.
Yeah, she's the Dorian Gray now, for
Yeah.
sure. She's, like, showing, you know.
In the box, she opens it up and it's just a needle that with like black stuff inside that says like terminate.
Yeah, like the termination fluid or whatever,
Yeah.
and she's, like, jams it
Pulp
in.
Fiction style,
Yeah.
right into the chest.
Plunges most of it in, I would say, but then leaves, like, an inch of it and is like, "I can't do it. I can't
Yeah.
do it, like,
She
this
hears
is
the
too
voice of
good."
the person who's on the phone in the substance. It's not literally them speaking, but them.
Yeah, it's like, "You're gonna be alone."
And yeah,
Mhm.
you're stuck like this, you'll lose everything, you're all alone. And she just can't bring herself to give up. She's like, no, no, I
And
can't.
then she looks to the table, and there's the roses that were given to Sue, and it has a note where it's like, "They're gonna love you." And so it's this whole thing of, like, all of this value, and my capacity to be loved is completely tied to me being hot,
Yeah.
and
Which
that's it.
we forgot to mention when she came back from being fired, she had a similar bouquet of roses that were like,
Well, a
good luck
less
with your
nice
life.
one,
Yeah.
yeah, no, it was like, "You were thank you, you were amazing," or something like that, where it's like, "Thank you for all of your years," or whatever,
Yeah.
and so it's like, emphasizing the many, many years and how fucking old she is or
And
whatever,
you were
and you were, and then
versus you
"were"
are.
is, like, zoomed in on in that opening, and I
Yeah.
thought that was really cool.
You're absolutely right.
"You are." I love it.
Um, so in a panic, she goes and gets the switch thing, which I don't know if we described well enough, but they're, yeah, like the
Yeah, it's just
tubes
2
that
tubes
you
that,
put from
like,
one to the
your blood
other, the
goes here, my
blood.
blood goes there, and our consciousness, like
Wakes up. Now they're both up for the first time
yeah.
at the same time. Sue instantly like
Well,
real
she sees
sees
the
the
tube.
needle that says terminate.
Yeah,
She sees the
and
tube.
she's like,
She could put it together. You were going to kill me.
"Ah!"
They have this huge battle all over the apartment. They're throwing themselves into glass tables,
Well,
into the
Sue's really the
frame.
one, she's, like, so strong.
Yeah.
She's like a fucking aerobics instructor with a perfect body, so she's like, "Good, ah," like,
They go to the
chucking her around,
bathroom at one point.
kicking her.
She gets her head and just slams it into this
I did
mirror
like how much
over
of
and
this
over
movie was in the
again.
bathroom.
Yeah.
I think that's it. It's like you spend so much of your time, like, if you're feeling, like, ugly or whatever, then you're, like,
Looking at yourself, either trying to
looking at
make yourself
yourself, it's a
better
fucking
there,
nightmare.
judging yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So, yeah, she's literally slamming her, like, the ugliness
And these like
of her
round hallways, they're both kind of running down. That's very like The Shining and
I
this
guess the
running.
woman in the bathroom in The Shining too, there's, like, an older woman who's supposed to be
Oh, that's right.
scary in
Yeah.
the bathroom.
It made me think of Pearl too.
Yeah.
So eventually in this battle, Sue throws. We go in the living room, down the hallway to the bathroom, back to the living room. She throws her through a glass table, then literally kicks her when she's down
In
repeatedly,
the ribs until
over
she's
and
just
over
bleeding.
again until she has died.
Yeah.
We see now the billboard says New Year's today, 9
Yeah.
p.m. So she goes down to the studio. She's in like this blue Cinderella dress. Um, but as she's there, she starts to not feel good. She's kind of like deteriorating without
People
Elizabeth.
are also, like, bombarding her with, like,
Yes.
instructions on how
Mhm.
the night's gonna go, and you can tell she's getting overwhelmed,
Yeah.
and
So she goes to the bathroom. She looks in the mirror, the same bathroom where the Alamo Draft House bathroom, and but I guess the women's, and she notices a tooth is
well,
loose.
she's coughing, and
Yeah.
it sounds like her voice and like Elizabeth's voice,
Yeah.
like a deepened like audio. The audio mixing in this shit is really good too, I guess. I
It's
mean,
so
I don't know.
good.
It's like really visceral and gross, and I'm sure like the ADR people or whatever, or what's it called when you're like doing the Foley?
Mhm.
they must have had a blast doing it because there's so much splatting and fucking crunching and heads hitting, you know,
Yeah.
tiles. So yeah, she coughs something up into the sink.
And it's her tooth.
It's a full tooth with the root and everything.
Then she goes and
And she looks
grabs.
at it,
Oh
and
yeah,
she sees this big missing. It's like one of the main guys. I'm not a dentist,
right
but
in the front.
yeah, right in the front.
Then she goes and grabs another one and
She's
is just able to pull it right out. Then she does it to another one. She keeps doing it until like the
three
whole
teeth out,
front of her
and she's
teeth
just looking at
are
herself.
missing.
Yeah.
Clearly she can't do the show if her face looks like this.
Yeah.
She runs out, of course, runs into Harvey with.
Well, she runs out, yeah, but you don't know, like, she rinses her mouth out and is like, "I'm on with the show," I would assume.
No, she can't. She's got to go
She's getting the
solve
fuck
it
out of
at
there?
least.
Oh, she's going to get the goo.
Well, because then she runs down the hall. She sees, she runs into Harvey, who's with like a bunch of the stockholders. He's like,
the
meet
stockholders.
the investors.
Yeah.
And they're all just a bunch of doofuses, like, hey.
They're just copy and pasted of each other, and they're so
The
silly.
way they all just like flounce down the hallway, like
Yeah.
with a little pack.
Well, as they're talking,
and she's trying to cover up her teeth, and he's like, "Won't you smile?"
Yeah.
And so she just gives one of those like smiles without teeth, and
Yeah.
they're like so happy, and they're like, "Pretty girls should smile."
Smile. And then a bunch of like showgirls run by with like their asses out and like their feather boas and stuff.
Oh my god!
And the feathers are hitting Harvey, and he's like, "Feathers!"
That felt like it might have been improvised, and they kept it in. It was so funny.
I don't know.
Feathers, and then they all just
All
like,
the shareholders kind of
away.
skid after these women, and it's just insane.
So she gets to an elevator. As she's in the elevator, there's a dude in there who's, just all these men are constantly
Like, you're ready for
trying
tonight, and
yeah.
literally her ear has just fallen off. She's
and now
falling
the sound
apart.
is like muffled.
And she like is clearly in physical pain, and the guy's like, "Yeah, you're looking like," he's like
Not even
continuing to
clocking
talk.
it.
Yeah. And then his floor comes up and he just walks out, and I was like, that is so funny. That was really
She
good.
rushes home. She sees that there's the very first one that Elizabeth used, activator. There's a little bit left. Although then on the bottom of it, it's like one-time use. Injects it into herself. She's
like, please make it a better, more perfect
of
version of me.
Yeah, so she can go and be the host of this, be the New Year's girl for the night.
Yeah.
She blam on the ground. Instead of just one eyeball, it becomes like
Multiple.
10 eyeballs in like both eyeballs. So things have clearly, her back opens up, but a bunch of different limbs that all are in random places.
We're in full society mode at this point. Like, it's yeah.
And then out comes who we learn the name is Monster Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Yes. Which is a combo of the two of them. On the back, you can see like Demi Moore's face, like, ah.
I loved that her mouth was like permanently open, and then her one arm is sort of like wrapped around, and the other arm is like kind of here, like the hand is here.
Yeah. And I guess this is like a copy of a copy.
Yeah.
So it's just not quite, and it's like with goo that's old. So just something isn't right about it, obviously.
Yeah.
But I kind of thought this monster was sweet and lovable.
It had a very, that's the thing that made me think of at this point was trauma movies too.
Yeah,
I was like
a
this
Toxic
feels
Avenger,
like a Toxic Avenger kind of a level
or
of
a
like
Goonies, like
Sloth or something.
Yeah.
It also made me think of Shallow Hal a little bit, in that there's like this sort of weird like morality tied up with this kind of stuff of like beautiful women especially versus average to ugly women, and also of people who have different visible disabilities. So yeah, there was kind of like a little bit of that going on here for me. Like, so I would be interested to read once like it's been out for a little bit longer, somebody's opinion who's like maybe has like a visible disability, or like what their opinion would be of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great point to bring up. Monster Alyssa Sue goes to the bedroom and puts on the Cinderella dress.
Yeah.
She looks in the mirror, puts on little earrings.
Yeah, her like one ear is like back here.
Yeah, there's like an eyeball next to it, and she kind of clips it next to that. She takes the picture of Elizabeth Demi Moore from off the wall, the giant like life-size one, cuts the head out.
Yeah.
has holes in the eyes,
Glues it.
glues it onto her face, and then puts lipstick to make sure that she's smiling. And we hear
Yeah.
kind of the pretty girl smile.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
lots of moments where you see like literally the circle of the person. Like if someone's saying you're remembering someone said something, it's like
Yeah.
I liked those.
Yeah.
Um,
It was the light was telling her, you know? It's like literally this limelight is telling you,
yeah.
like, pretty girls should smile and like shit like that. So
So she leaves the house. She goes to
nuance is out the window. It's
the
like not welcome
theater.
here anymore
Yeah,
in a good
yeah.
way. I think.
There's like a line of people where the hallway is, where all the pictures were and the maybe shining carpet was. And the crowd of people are all like adoring her as she comes in. So I think that this is a fantasy as the monster Alyssa Sue is coming in.
Yeah.
Um
Where it's like, yay, you're irreplaceable. We
yeah.
love you.
And she's just like being like very like demure and cute.
Hmm.
She gets on the stage, all the people in the audience are waiting. There's like burlesque dancers with their boobs out. The men in the audience are like, "Oh, like
There's
they
also
like
a little
that."
girl dressed kind of like Sue in the front row.
Yes.
So I thought that was funny to have like basically naked Vegas showgirl looking kind
Right
of
in
like
front of this little girl
dancers.
who's like idolizing
Yeah,
her.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's also in this sort of like small-ish theater where I was like, what is this New Year's show?
I know, it's so silly.
But it was, yeah, who cares?
And then Dennis Quaid, Harvey is like telling the investors like, "This is my greatest
Yeah, I
creation.
made her.
I made
Yeah,
her." So it's becoming very like it reminded me of Frankenstein too,
yeah,
and they're like dancing at the end,
yeah,
obviously. Um, so they're all ready to go. The spotlight's on. Monster Alyssa Sue comes out and is trying. People are shocked, not sure what to do, and she's
yeah,
trying to tell them like it's okay, it's still me. There's like subtitles for her because it's like hard to understand what she's saying.
yeah.
And then someone just pops up in the audience and is like, "Monster freak!"
She's a freak. Shoot it.
It's
Kill
very
the
like
freak.
villagers in
Yeah.
Frankenstein, but in like a kind of a silly, campy
At
way.
this point, we're off the rails. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're flying off the rails at 100.
Chaos ensues. People are rushing the stage. One person ends up having some blunt object and ends up like decapitating
Yeah, it like hits. Well,
Monster
oh,
Alyssa
before that
Sue.
happens too. Before that, I can't believe we forgot this part. Uh, a sort of like part of Alyssa Sue's head opens up, and this like breast pops out, and then it's like attached to like a long. It's almost like an eyeball. It has this like stalk attached
Yeah,
to it, and it kind of falls and then falls to the
just
ground.
plops.
And that's when enough is enough, and everybody's like,
That's
freak, freak.
that's
Yeah.
what started everyone's anger.
Yeah.
And this whole
This sagging
scene,
breast. I feel like
yeah,
sagging breasts in particular were like such a big part of this movie that,
it felt like the director and writer just such like a great fuck you to anyone who's ever treated her like this. Just
yeah.
being like, it's on, and we're just in the biggest
Yeah.
way going to get you right now.
Yeah,
It was just
yeah.
the end was a real blast.
Yeah.
So Monster Alyssa Sue is decapitated, but a new head kind of
Yeah,
grows,
there's
and
sort of
then
another
blood,
head.
Addams Family
Well, the
style.
hand is also cut off, and then blood is shooting out of the hand
But
hole.
even more than Addams Family. It's
Yeah,
like that times 1,000. It's
yeah.
enough to
It's a
fill
fire
the
hose of
theater.
blood.
Everyone is getting shot with it, like pushed against the walls with
Yeah.
it. Oh, I did write a titty regenerates at one point.
Mhm.
I had them in the wrong order. But as this chaos is ensuing, everyone's covered in blood. It kind of reminded me again of the end of Suspiria too.
Yeah.
Bit of a spoiler. But
It really was hitting Addams Family for me. I was like, this is
oh
when
yeah.
just they're
And
like,
there was kind of like a little bit of metal music, I think, playing.
yeah,
So I
it
was ready
was.
to get up and just be like,
Yeah, the music
"Yes!"
was pumping. I thought it was really a good choice for this.
In the chaos, the monster Alyssa Sue is able to escape. There's blood all over the walls of the hallway
She's like spinning
floor.
like a ballerina at one point.
Yeah.
It's like this above shot of her like spinning around and around, and she's this like puffy blue, baby blue like dress, and then
Yeah.
everything around her is blood.
She escapes into the street. She trips, and tripping causes her just to kind of like combust.
The impact,
The
yeah,
impact. Her limbs just go different places. There's blood and goo everywhere.
yeah,
We see Elizabeth Demi Moore's head kind of like move
It
on
starts
its
to like,
own, almost
yeah,
like a brain or
like
guts
a
are
slug,
underneath it, like a
like a
slug,
slug,
moving,
or a
moving,
caterpillar.
moving until she reaches her star on the
Yeah,
Walk of
she
Fame.
covers it up with
She
her face.
looks up at the sky, the stars are there,
The
and the
real
glitter
stars.
from what was the snow globe kind of sprinkles down onto her. She's back in that snow globe. She's in her element. It feels like
Yeah,
she is like, she kind of smiles. She's a star again.
yeah, and then she dissolves.
And then she just kind of melts into the star,
Yeah,
and then a floor sweeper thing comes
yeah. Like the
by,
next
cleans
morning,
it.
it's like,
Most unbelievable part that someone's
I know that
cleaning down
someone's
there.
cleaning Hollywood Boulevard.
And that's it. That is the substance,
That's the
as
substance.
best we remember,
As much as
having
we
not
can
taken
recall.
notes. Yeah, it's pretty good.
I think so too. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, what did you think?
Yeah, I thought the parts of it were really awesome. I think that was the one thing that kind of held me up on it, where it was like the depiction of old people and the depiction of like, and we had this conversation between ourselves about um X, where you are trying to depict this thing as being like, there's like a line between depicting age as grotesque because you want to like show how ridiculous it is to get scared of getting old. It's like an inevitability and we're going to get old and
Yeah,
die. And so it's like, but in doing that, are you being exploitative of people who are old, or are you being exploitative of people who have like disabilities or like are disfigured in a certain way,
yeah,
or, regardless of how they came about that? And so there's kind of like a thing of that where I don't know if it's just like a little vague haze of that for me, where it's like,
totally.
I think for this specific person, I think it is pretty clear exactly where she's coming from. And it's like in this context of somebody who was like an actor or like in some way in entertainment, and how this affected her as a woman, the writer director. So I think that it's like, I think that that's, you can't really argue with her point of view. That's how she felt.
Yeah,
But just for me, I am curious, like, for Hollywood as a whole, their depiction of people who have who are in some way disfigured or something. Um, yeah, I wonder how people feel about it.
yeah. I
You
remember
know,
when we saw X, like when the two old people in it have sex, that getting laughs in the audience. And I was like,
Mhm.
it's literally supposed to be like she's vulnerable in doing this because people don't find her sexual. And then we're all like, or I wasn't laughing, but most of the theater like is laughing at the fact that she's having sex right now.
Yeah,
But I guess it is an uncomfortable thing that you're like putting in front of people, or it makes them uncomfortable, so that's why they're laughing. So maybe
yeah. Or
thinking,
it's depicted so little, and
yeah,
it's never depicted in a sexy way. It's like only funny,
yeah,
or it's only shown as something that's supposed to be like, ugh, like that's so gross or whatever. And so, yeah, I guess it makes me think of that. It just makes me like conscious of it, and I don't know. I don't know if it's something that necessarily like does it make it better or worse for somebody?
yeah,
Does somebody who's old watch this and find solace in it? Or does somebody who's like just disfigured in some way see it and find like connect to it? And if they do, then or how
yeah,
and what that's what it makes me curious about. It makes me think of like Bond villains. Like Bond villains are always kind of shown with like something is like changed about their face, and like that's kind of a point of contentment, I think, with a lot of people, where it's
yeah,
like, why is this villain depicted in this way? And what about it makes us like think like handsome dude is the good guy, and like this guy who is missing an eye is the bad guy automatically because he has one eye
yeah,
or whatever, whatever it may be, or a metal jaw or whatever the fuck. I don't know,
yeah.
you know.
No, those are all good things to think about.
Yeah, just I mean, I don't know what to fucking say about it. I'm not like articulate enough to like think of it right on the spot, but I do think of it,
Yeah.
you know. That's all. But overall, I really liked it. I had a lot of fun, especially the end blasting that audience with blood, and
Oh, yeah.
the metal music was really
And just
great.
the fuck you vibe of it, I
Yeah.
really enjoyed. Okay, so scary and then quality of film. Scary, what would you rate?
Scariness, I mean,
I never find body horror scary. It's always just more grotesque and uncomfortable to watch. Like you're definitely like, ooh, but
I
I don't
guess
think
it's
I'm like,
the thought of being trapped in your own body to a degree is a little scary, I guess.
yeah,
That was the part where I was like, that was the part that made me feel sad. I was like, she can't move this finger anymore. I was like, I was like, oh God. But you do have value outside of your physical body. So it's
yeah.
like, no, I'm not that scared of that.
So
Or,
what number?
oh, one? I don't know.
Yeah,
Two?
I do it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, two. Yeah.
And then quality of movie, I'd give it like a 3.5 to a 4. I
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
out of five.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm right there with you. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're just copying my
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah, I think you're just so smart.
Oh, I think you're so smart. And
Oh,
thank you
thanks.
for sharing all stuff that you shared.
Yeah, you too.
And thank you all for being here. We'll have more movies all throughout the month of October. So yeah, please come back.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on our movie date.
Bye.
Bye.